Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Hurry Up Live with your host, Adam, and my other host, Jeff. How are you? And we're welcoming in our special guest, AK. How are you guys doing today?
What's going on,
Great,
buddy?
great, good to be here again for another episode of the Hurry Up.
Well, I'm glad that you guys could join me, Jeff. Obviously, so honored to have you on most of these shows. You really helped the show go. AK, great thought. Only Eagle fan I really like, and my Eagle, my Eagle fan of friendships. So good for you on not not having me yell at you every week. But that's I'm just kidding. I'm just playing. But
Hey, no lie though, man. I actually have a surprise for you, real quick.
Oh,
Something
yes.
you can actually bring to your channel and have some more fun with it. Because I know how you like to do timeouts and stuff. So I added these couple things for you if you ever feel like you want to use them.
Okay.
We have
All right, well, Three Stooges added in there.
Yeah, so if Mitch ever says something stupid, you can just do that and kick him. Uh, we have this here.
Come, Mr. Wigglesworth.
Yes. So we have these. We got this.
It's sharks with frickin'
Oh,
laser beams
that's-
attached to their heads.
That's perfect. That one
And
works.
then we have this.
Dr. Evil, $1 million.
Dollars. And then we got this one right here.
Yes, a little Wayne's World in there too.
Yep.
Diddly, diddly. That's not really how it ends, guys.
And then you got this one.
Get in my belly.
Get in my belly.
A lot of fun stuff here.
And
I
then the
love
last.
the Austin Powers stuff. Oh God, we're gonna have a lot of fun with that.
Yeah. So you got all those to play with, and you can find that under the brand under the very first section there of videos. That's where they're sitting. You can use all those at any time you want, man.
Awesome.
We added those in last night. Anyone can use them, but yeah, that we can have some fun.
How about them Cowboys?
I would love to get, you know what I would do? I would love to get like the Slapshot photo of the guys from Slapshot, and they're in the penalty box, and then you can put somebody in the penalty box with that. So that would be a funny one to acquire. I think AK knows what I'm talking about. He's old enough to, and Jeff, you know Slapshot.
Yeah, I remember.
Anyway.
Slapshot.
Anyways, fellas, that is awesome. Those new graphics will be funny as we go forward, depending on what we want to use them. Mitch, come on here, so we can try them out a little bit. You know what I mean? See how they work. But anyways, I want to talk about the first week of preseason has come and has gone. A lot of teams looked good. A lot of teams look like they have some work to be done. I know that the Jets and the Eagles played the Giants. We all know kicked off the preseason against New England. We obviously talked about that. So we don't really need to talk too much about the Giants game unless you want to talk more about that, Jeff. But what are you guys seeing overall in training camp? I know AK said that he wanted to lead off with, I guess, the Cowboys.
Well, no, we didn't have to lead off with that. I just said we have to talk about that.
Well, then let's talk about it.
No, man, I was just saying, like, the one thing I'm just going to take away from that game is 17 penalties for 129 yards.
Pretty bad.
That's setting a record right there, man.
I know it's preseason, but damn.
Right? There's no discipline whatsoever. That's what that shows me.
17 on one team. Usually you get 17 in a game between both teams. The fact that you got 17 on one team is kind of astounding. I know it's preseason people, and they're going to be like, well, they're just working the kinks out. 17 penalties? Come on.
Yeah. No, and I guess there was actually more than that. They've declined a few. So
Really?
They actually had more than just 17.
Well,
So I think it was like around 20 altogether, but they declined a few.
see, that's, I'm not going to say it sucks for the Cowboys because, you know what, I really don't care how they, how well they do or their fan base. But I will say this, if you, I hope this is not one of those things where the Cowboys are trying to fool the NFL or, let's just pretend we look bad. And then everyone, oh, damn. Then everyone, comes out and all of a sudden the Cowboys, well, I doubt that. But, damn, I can't even put him on the stream. He got removed before he even got started. But 17 penalties in a preseason game, Oh, you said there was more. Gross. Cowboys turmoil.
Cowboys
Over,
doing cowboy life.
over under Mike McCarthy fired before midseason.
I'll take that bet.
I'll take it. I think it's gonna happen. He's gonna get fired during the season. Jerry's not gonna. I can't take the losing. We're not performing to where we need to be.
I'm Jared Jones.
I'm Jared Jones. We need to make a change at the head coaching position.
I got plastic surgery.
Now, here's the thing. There was somebody that made the statement this morning, though. It's how much can you really throw on Mike McCarthy, though? Because we all know. No, because we all know who runs that fucking organization and whose voice matters the most, and that's Jerry Jones. Like, we know he's top dog in charge and everything.
Yeah, but I mean, he's the guy who wanted Mike McCarthy. They brought in this guy for stability and his resume. Right, Super Bowl winner. Went to the. Had many winning seasons in Green Bay. Comes in. They have a foot fetish or whatever. They lose because of Dak Prescott's broken leg. So they break his leg, and then he has Andy Dalton starting, and a ton of injuries. So they go 6-10. The next year they have 12-5, and they want to run him out of town. Now, I don't like Mike McCarthy. I hate to say it, was one of my choices for the Giants back when they were in the Joe Judge sweepstakes. I thought that guy was what the Giants look for, is a big fish, a guy that, and he's a really big fish, a guy that you can rest your hat on. So it's kind of interesting that all of a sudden 3 seasons in, this guy is already on the hot seat. Jerry Jones is probably going to hire a new coach, and they're already having some turmoil within the locker room. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, well, and his point was, why would these players play discipline? Because his point was, whenever you look at that organization, it's not like Mike McCarthy can do anything to them, because Jerry Jones wants these guys here. That is his team. They know who he pays. They know who he wants. So they can play sloppy, because it's not like Mike McCarthy can do anything anyway. They don't have to be as disciplined, and they don't have to be as driven as other teams, because they know they're safe because their owner has the say. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I hear you, but I think the fact that he's on shaky ground already, I mean, Sean Payton vultures are already out, and if that's the case, you might as well just fired Mike McCarthy now, say we're going to tank this year, not what the Cowboys do, but, go with Kellen Moore or Kellen, whoever the offensive coordinator is, right? Or Dan Quinn. You could have done this. Fire fucking Mike McCarthy, promote the assistant head coach, Dan Quinn, to the head coach for now, interim, saying, listen, you're not going to lose your job regardless of the next guy coming in. Let him coach the team, see what happens. Bring in Sean Payton next year, and the rest is, as I say, gravy. Because to me, it's like, I like Dan Quinn. I think people underestimate him as a head coach, but you can't – I know what you're saying, but I can't just sit there as Dan Quinn and be like, well, don't play defense because – we're not going to be here next year. I mean, for me, I think there's a little more class in that, but I get what you're saying in terms of Jerry is a puppet master. However, I do believe his son is the real puppet master. Now, I think Jerry's a little, he's like Vince McMahon. He just kind of sits there and, barks out orders, but people are really running the show underneath him. So
I agree with you 100%. I believe Stephen Jones is pretty much the guy that's operating things all over the place in that organization right now. He's been the one behind all – a lot of the draft picks that have been happening. He's been probably the one around a lot of the personnel decisions, the coaching decisions. I believe Stephen Jones has been running that organization for the past few years. And Jerry Jones just pretty much there, just, in case he wants to put in his little 2 cents. If, he sees something that maybe he doesn't love, he's going to tell his son about it and just be like, I kind of wish we change this up a little bit. But it's no doubt in anybody's mind that Stephen Jones has been the one running that team lately.
And he's made some good decisions. I mean, they've drafted a couple of good players. When Jerry Jones starts his parade of press conferences and becomes more and more in front of the mic, that's when the Cowboys tend to do the worst, right? When you don't hear about Jerry Jones and you just kind of casually see him in the press box, that's when we the Cowboys tend to do a little bit better. I mean, back in the '90s, it used to be funny. We used to come down to the field. It was like, dude, what are you doing? You're such a micromanager. Just stand in the box. Go down there. He's sitting there. You're making. If I'm a Cowboy player and the owner's in the box, I'm relaxed. Right now, he's down the field going, "Well, get your ass in there. Kick some ass. Take him." You know what I mean? Like probably being a fan himself, and you're the owner. Like, damn, if I mess up, I am gone. He knows there's like 53 people on this roster. He knows every one of our names, and he's got money. Right now, he just looks like a weird, senile old man, who drafts from his yacht. You know what I'm saying? But the more the circus happens, the more I'm convinced the Cowboys are going to not necessarily struggle, but not have as many wins as last year because they asked Mike McCarthy the first day, "Are you worried about your job security?" First, the man didn't even get to wipe his ass yet. At the job. And the first thing in training camp is not how's your outlook on life? It is your ass is on the hot seat. How do you feel about it?
They pretty much didn't even give this guy a chance to actually be able to coach. They're pretty much putting his ass on the fire before he was even able to do anything at all. And you're just going to see it right now that him and that Cowboys team is going to be under so much pressure this year because of the fact that they need to win. They need to be consistent, especially Mike McCarthy. He's got to have himself a good season. This team's not only going to make the playoffs, but they got to have a playoff run because if they don't, his ass is gone because for a fact that former head coach in New Orleans is sitting right there, and you know how much Jerry Jones loves Sean Payton, and you know how much he wants to bring Sean Payton in. I think unless the Cowboys just have this amazing season and go on a long playoff run. Yeah, they either make it to get to the NFC Championship game or get to the Super Bowl. Mike McCarthy's gone regardless because I think Jerry Jones wants Sean Payton as his head coach.
Let's not put that in the airspace anymore. Let's not.
No,
say,
it's making me sick. I'm getting sick just even thinking about it.
To be honest, man, that's going to be difficult anyway because they are down to literally one receiver, and that's just CD.
Oh yeah.
So
I mean, do a lot of running this year.
I think Tony Pollard is going to be a guy you're going to see that ball in his hands a lot. I think
they still have
put that guy all over the field and try to get him the ball in space and wherever they can. I think he's going to be that X factor on that offense. Is what they're going to do exactly with a guy like Tony Pollard. Not really Zeke as much.
It's funny that you mentioned something, AK, because I was watching NFL Network the other day, and they had like a bubble pop up of like the Cowboys team, and they said last year they had all these weapons and they made it more of a pass oriented team. They said this year they think it's going to be more of a run heavy team because Zeke is back, Pollard is there. They're going to make it more run centric. They're going to have Dalton Schultz as their tight end, CeeDee Lamb, and kind of run an old school type of. I think that's why they want Dak Prescott to run more, right? Is because they don't have as many weapons for him to throw to. So now you make him a weapon on the field. That kind of changes the dynamic of the offense because now you have Zeke, Pollard, Schultz, and then CeeDee Lamb. And I don't know if with Dak running and adding that element, that could probably help your game a little bit more. Do I want Dak to run? I think it's a dumb idea to do it if you do it. It's not that he can't run, can't do it. He did it in college, but you've seen him mature as a passer. More so than most quarterbacks. I know people hate on Dak Prescott, but when he came in, he was just a basic quarterback. He was like a Russell Wilson light, I should say. He would run, but he wasn't really a running guy, right? Now he's evolved where he runs now to get first downs, make some big plays, but, he's not trying to be Lamar Jackson out there and do spinneroonies and shit and try to get into the end zone. He's just not. So I don't want – if I'm the Cowboys, now I'm understanding their philosophy on why you're doing the RPO game because you don't have Amari Cooper. You lost Gallup for probably the beginning of the year. You're lost another receiver just recently who I think –
James Washington, yeah.
I don't know how long he's out for, but I know that he's –
I think he's got a foot injury. He's going to be
out
able to
he's out 8 to 10 weeks.
Yeah, at least 2 months.
That is terrible.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, dude. He's throwing to no one but CD. I mean, they still do have their rookie and they have some other young guys, but they're nobodies. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's going to be tough. It's not going to be easy.
Well, yeah, I know NFL Network had them at 9 wins, 9-8. I had them at 10 with Mac. We did our thing. I could easily see them going 8-9 with their record.
Yeah.
fact, it probably would benefit them to go 8-9 because then there's an automatic firing because then they're like, this is just not acceptable. You know, you go from 12-5 to 8-9, you're fired. You know what I mean? So that's probably what Jerry would do, saying that would be his recourse of action. I should put myself in the penalty box for shitty Jerry Jones.
Hey, before me, that's a record.
See, Mitch, it's not just you. It's not just you. It's everybody here. I'm an equal opportunity penalty box person. Okay, that's just what I do. You know,
Good to hear.
you say dumb. Jeff could say something dumb. Penalty box. AK penalty box. Myself, penalty box. Not as emphatic.
See?
Someone is here. Device not
Yeah,
connected. Oh, AK is coming back on.
are we doing this again, AK?
Are you okay? What's happening here?
You right there?
We're having a little
Alrighty.
bit of issues with the backstage.
It didn't like something I said.
I'm here. A taste of AK chicken wings.
Oh God.
Okay, well, that's
So
good.
ultimately,
Thank you for digital prez. We appreciate that.
So ultimately, in the end, you know, how about them Cowboys?
How about them Cowboys?
Now that we've talked about the Cowboys and their shitty existence right now and their crappy performance on whatever they played Saturday, Sunday in their preseason game, I think we should move on to a team that's intrigued most people around the league.
Wait, just real quick. So I was watching the NFL Top 100 list last night.
Yes, we're going to get to that, Mitch. We had a whole production meeting about that. Stop blowing up the damn show. Damn it.
You're
Damn it. Anyways, like I was saying, a team that can you let the host of the show host the show, please, Mitch? Damn it. Let me back up for a minute. Anyways, team that we all are intrigued by. I just watched their first episode of Hard Knocks, and that is the Detroit Lions. It was some interesting things to see the behind-the-scenes look at a team that I think most of us believe. At least I know AK. Heard your thoughts on. I think maybe Jeff, you might have mentioned that you like Detroit this year a little bit, not necessarily to be a playoff contender, but win maybe 5 or 6 games and look better. Correct on that.
I definitely think that Detroit could be a team that could surprise this year because of the fact that, I mean, at least when I saw Aiden Hutchinson had the highest defensive grade amongst the rookies this past preseason first week. So, I mean, he's a guy that's obviously going to give you intrigue as that number 1 overall pick at defensive end. He's going to go over there and he's going to give – I'm sorry, not number 1, number 2. He's going to be a guy that's going to be giving you a lot of intrigue, pass rush off the edge. You're going to see how he's going to fit in that Dan Campbell-style defense. Also, I mean, you have Okwara that's going to be coming back, so you have to see how he's going to look coming back from injury. I like their offense. I really like their offense.
Unfortunately, I don't have a job right now there, Greeny, so yes, I'm on vacation until Monday. So I can be on Monday. Sorry, not to be rude or anything, Jeff. I'm just letting them know that we work.
Yeah, no, it's all right. And, I was going to say, too, like, I really like the Detroit Lions offense overall. I mean, I think what they have a good set of personnel right now. I like their offensive line construction as we go. I think Taylor Decker is a very solid left tackle. I mean, we obviously know what the right tackle could do. The rookie, the second-year player, the name's slipping me right now, but he seems to be – Penei Sewell seems to be a guy that's going to be thank you, Adam. He's going to be making his jump into his second year. I mean, the offensive playmakers, you can't really say anything bad about it. I mean, Swift is actually probably one of the better shifty running backs in the NFL if he stays healthy. Hawkinson, we know how good he is. And obviously their wide receiver core. I mean, Amon St. Brown, nobody really talked about him. He had one of the most underrated, like close to 1,000-yard seasons for a rookie that came in last year. Jameson Williams, hyped up prospect this year in terms of like maybe the top wide receiver in this past draft if he didn't get hurt. And, I mean, DJ Chark is a solid number 3. So I think the playmaker is going to be good. I just wonder if, like, Dan Campbell is going to be able to take this team to that next level because they have a lot of good young talent. I think they have some solid veterans over there. It's just can Dan Campbell elevate this team to possibly surprise in their second season as head coach.
Let's talk about Dan Campbell because I watched Hard Knocks and they feature a lot of the coaches in that show. And me, right now, my impression of Dan Campbell is I'd play for that guy. The guy is intense. He is just, but there's a purpose to his madness, right? It's not like Joe Judge where he's trying to strut his stuff like Bill Belichick. He's got this edge about him, right? And he said that as he came up through the ranks, when he played with the Giants and then he played with Miami and then New Orleans and the Cowboys and et cetera, he ended up being this coach who's like, be yourself. So he went from intern at Miami, then he went to offensive assistant, then promoted to tight ends coach, right? Then he went to the Sean Payton staff and kind of learned under him. Sean Payton thought he would teach him everything he knows, and you just listen to him speak, and you're just like, man, if he's not the guy to bring the Lions' prominence, he'll definitely be the guy that builds them back to respectability, because he's got a lot of coaches on there that are kind of intriguing in my eyes. They're ex-players. Mark Brunell is the quarterback's coach. Aaron Glenn is the defensive coordinator. Deuce Staley is the running backs coach, I think, or offensive coordinator. I'm not sure. I have to relook up his title. And then he has the O-line coach was an ex Hank Farley or something like that. So he has a lot of guys that are pretty young. Randall L is the receivers coach. I mean, we know Antoine Randall L. I mean, that's easy. So, like, if Goff does a good jump, maybe Mark Brunell is unlocking the elixir, because remember, Mark Brunell is pretty good. He was a good, solid quarterback back in the day. Deuce Staley, good, solid running back. Aaron Glenn was a Pro Bowl corner. I mean, that guy is amazing.
I love Aaron Glenn, yeah.
Yeah, Tri-State area. He was borderline Hall of Fame good. That's how good he was, But
Listen,
I think it's interesting. Go ahead.
I will go and I will solidify my statement that I said last week, dude. Like, I'm telling you, you're right. Dan Campbell is one of those coaches where he will make you want to run through a brick fucking wall. Like you will want to play for him. And you see that with these guys. They're motivated, they want to play, and they're possibly going to be good. But seeing Kellen Mond play in Minnesota this past weekend and see what he did with Minnesota, there might be a QB controversy here soon.
We went down that road.
I'm telling you, bro. I'm telling you. And if that happens, man, the Vikings, bro, they did not look as good as what everyone thinks they're going to look like. So, I don't know, dude. Like, Detroit could easily take number 2 away from Minnesota.
Wow, and this is what I'm saying. Like, I know Dan Campbell may not be the guy, but right now, for what they're doing, he looks like the right guy. They're building up Jared Goff. They're building a team that's hard nosed, that wants to play. I mean, the way that they're tackling in camp, the guy, he's like, you guys looking at me, but I'm telling you, I've done the science and done the research. More is better when you're in terms of hitting. And I'm like, he is absolutely right, because when you played football, you didn't play football to play once not get it again. You play football to build up that callus, right? And so for me, if he's that guy to do that, then that's smart. That's because you need players to believe in the system. You need players to be stronger. And I think, like, I always go to the boxing analogy, and I'm not a boxer, so maybe somebody in the audience give me a better idea. But I always know a boxer can spar, right? If they don't spar, guess what happens? They come out and they're trash the first few weeks, the first few rounds. That's why I think preseason is necessary, because you need to get these guys a little hit. The other thing I also believe is that you build up callus the more you do something. And I'm not saying I want these guys to bash their heads in every team. The Lions were actually taking their guys to the ground. They weren't like thudding and then bouncing off. They were literally throwing people to the ground. And I'm like, that to me is muscle memory that your body's going to need, and not be shocked when it gets hit come week 1 because you haven't hit like that. And I think that method, I know people don't like the physicality. You don't have to do that every day. I'm not saying, go out there and bash their heads in for a week straight, but you do it on a Monday, you take a couple days off, you come back again on a Thursday, you know what I mean?
I agree, man. I'm not gonna lie. I've always wondered, because it's like a callus, like you said. If you work with your hands a lot, you get calluses on your hands, and your skin becomes real tough. Real fucking tough, almost brick. And
Right.
Whenever you do that more and more, the harder your hands get, and so whenever you're talking about tackling, You know, if you're not out there and you're not getting hit each and every day, your body isn't used to it, and it kind of becomes soft, I guess
Right.
you could say, you know, because you're not used to that. But these guys who are out there tackling, dude, their bodies are getting accustomed to doing that and getting hit right now. So as when the season takes hold, dude, their bodies are going to become, like you said, they're just going to become rougher because they've already withstand the training camp of tackling, you know, so they'll be able to take the abuse and punishment. You know, I believe some
And I'm not
injuries
trying to,
because people don't practice hard enough, you know, like we
right.
don't
I agree.
tackle and stuff because your bodies aren't used to your leg being twisted a certain way when you're tackled because you're playing another team, not your own team, so they don't give a shit how they
Right.
tackle you as long as they bring you down. You know, your body's
Right.
not used to that, therefore it's going to break easier than if it would be tackled like that every day.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. This is my weird sports science moment, you know, and thinking. I'm not trying to take away from the injuries and the concussions. I'm not trying to say that. I'm not trying to say bash every week. But I've been to the camp. We've seen the practices during the season. These guys basically have helmets on. And I think what it does, like you said, is why do you see so many hamstring pulls? Why do you see so many little soft tissue injuries? Because you're not building up those tissues the right way. You're doing that in the off season. You're doing cardio. You're doing all this. Right? You're trying to do all this explosion. But then when you get to the field, you're not doing that. Practice is controlled. Right? If you're doing what Dan Campbell's doing and you're letting your guys tackle a little bit, get to the ground, they're not going to – the body when it hits the ground is not going to feel as like, oh, you know, this is not used to. I mean, I watched completely obliterated by somebody on the Vikings, some highlight last night, and he was like mic'd up. I think it was sound effects or some shit. And he was on the Lions, and he's putting his helmet back on or taking it off on the bench, and he's like, "Oh man, that hurt." Like I'm like, but now but it probably hurt less because you guys are tackled, right? And look at that, the quarterback doesn't get hit. He gets hit and crushed. Now his body's like, right. But meanwhile, the linebacker that hit him is ready to go.
Yeah. No, I man.
Go ahead, fellas. Jeff, your thoughts? Mitch, anyone? Doesn't have to be me.
Yeah, go ahead,
Take
Jeff.
that back.
They gave me.
I'm a little bit stumped on this one. I don't really have like any thoughts
Really?
on this exact. No, yeah, this one I really don't. I was actually just reading up on some other. I don't want. I was just reading on something else that was happening in terms of like other rookies that were performing well in the preseason. So, but I was just listening to what you guys were saying this whole time. So, Mitch.
Well,
Oh, okay. Can I ask you a question then? Does our thing make sense at least?
No, it does make. Yeah, no, it does make sense to what you guys are both saying. Absolutely,
Okay.
want to say hi?
Mitch.
Say hi.
I just got back. I had to go use the restroom. So I'm a little lost.
Oh, Mitch. This makes for great radio. Mitch, you make for great radio. See, if we were in the 1920s, this would be a comedy show.
You know what, Adam?
That
Put
was
me.
not me. That was not me.
Adam, you can put
That
me.
was me.
Adam, you can put me backstage for like a.
Don't even ask me. Word really got out of his mouth and I was already backstage.
I'm
No, but
I'm
seriously-
punishing myself because I have no idea what the hell was going on. So
I don't either.
Well, the thing is this. Look, we'll close out on this. Has been watered down due to the fact that these guys have taken away the hits. You don't want to do the 2 times a day double padded practices. I get that, but the fact of the matter is, even old NFL cats have said it. Your body needs those hits. That's why if you don't play guys in preseason and then they come into the regular season and never having to get hit, and all of a sudden they go over the middle and get jaw jacked by a linebacker who's been smacking somebody because his coach is a little bit more physical than yours, but guess what? Your body is shocked, and then you get the injuries that you cause. I think some of these soft tissue injuries can be prevented 2 ways. One, more stretching and hydration. Right? They don't. A lot of these guys, you watch them in warm-ups, they don't do anything to stretch. And the other thing is that I think the weight training and the way that they train is not helping their body either. So if you do the things that we said, and that's kind of build going to see the same injuries that you normally see because your body is ready to get hit. You know what I mean? So that's why, like, these non-contact injuries. Why is it non-contact? Because your body is not built correctly in terms of how you're bending and all the nutrition you're putting into it. And the other thing is your body's not taking the same shots as it normally is in practice. You're not running the same speed anymore, you know?
I think it's also because people are weight training they're trying so hard to try to make like themselves a lot bigger, a lot more muscular and stuff. And you have to understand like the type of strain that puts on your ligaments, on your tendons, and everything like that, where they're wound so tight because the amount of working out that you do, trying to increase muscle mass and stuff like that, that where you can make the slightest little step wrong and then you're just gonna pop. You're gonna hear a pop in your ankle, and I think it's the weight training that's not being done correctly. I think people could look at more in terms of muscle mass and they do like, conditioning and stuff. I agree with like when it comes to like the 2-a-days. I mean, you don't see people hit anywhere near as much, play more intense in terms of practices. There's a lot more light practices, so you don't have like that intensity. And when you get onto the field for a regular season game, it's just not the same in terms of the impact because you're just not practicing to a little bit more of an aggressive degree. So that way, like when you transition right onto the field for a regular season game, you don't have that right amount of correct practicing during the off season. So it's like when you go from 0 to 100 compared to practice where maybe you're going like 0 to 50 or 75, it's just going to result in a lot more injuries. So I think they're not training correctly. I don't think they're getting the amount of practices correctly. I don't think they're hydrating correctly. Some players don't even hydrate at all. I mean, we heard it like, in the off seasons before where some players don't even drink the certain amount of water, fluids, whatever it is, so like get themselves hydrated enough, and that impacts as well. Your ability for your muscles to be able to get the amount of hydration it needs to physically perform in this type of sport that we're going forward to. So I agree with what you guys takes for that come into that as well.
Well, and I would go even as further to say for the hamstrings, bro. That I even said this last year in the off season when I first started on my lives. I feel that comes from just being a lazy stretcher. That the one thing that I always do because I still play ball. I like playing baseball and softball to this day. And dude, the one thing I do always before I go play is I stretch the shit out of my hammies all the time because that is the most important thing. I've never had a ham pull and I don't want one. I've seen what they look like and I know they hurt like hell and I do not want one. You just got to stretch those bitches out more. Some players, I think they stretch out I've seen it. I've even done it myself a couple times where I'm quick with it. I don't take the amount of time I need to take on them because I'm just rushing,
Yeah.
But I think they just need to focus more on stretching out their hammies. I mean, if you stretch them out properly, bro, you shouldn't have an issue.
Well, and that will basically is the reason why I think there's a lot of injuries is because of that. But, let's go on from Dan Campbell. It seemed like you were leading down a good path. And folks, yes, we're going to get to the top 100 that Mitch said. We're going to say that towards the latter of the show. There's some guys I don't believe that need to be on there. The first 10 we could do, maybe even the first 20, to run down the list quickly. So we can't spend the whole time doing the top 100. We'd be here till the season started. But let's get into what Jeff's saying. Jeff, you said you saw some intriguing rookies this week. Bring some of them up. Let's see if we can talk about them, and let's go.
Well, I mean, one of them was a guy like Charles Cross, who actually had a pretty impressive first game of his rookie season. We were all debating this past offseason, if you're a Giant fan, especially, like which offensive tackle should we try to draft? Was it Ekwonu? Was it Cross? Or was it, Evan Neal, who we ended up taking instead? I mean, Cross actually had no pressures in 23 attempts, and he had over, I believe, an 88 grade in terms of his pass blocking. So you got to give credit for the guy over there, Charles Cross. He's actually had a pretty solid practice to start off with. And another guy that you should be watching out for, George Karlaftis. This guy, everything that I'm hearing about Karlaftis right now in that Chiefs camp, he's been off to a phenomenal start. I think him playing next to a guy like Chris Jones is only going to make him even more explosive. I think he landed in a perfect spot over there in Kansas City. So that's a name that you should be watching out for is George Karlaftis. I mean, this guy could be a guy that could sneakily be up there for Defensive Rookie of the Year. I just really believe with Chris Jones there, I think Spags will get the most out of this kid. I think he landed in the perfect spot over there in Kansas City.
Bro, how is Malik Willis not on your top?
Well, I'm talking about D.
D?
Yeah, I'm trying to go non-QB. I mean, I just don't know because I don't know what Malik Willis is. He looked impressive. I will give him his credit. He looked impressive in terms of what he did in that first preseason game. But I have to see Malik Willis become more of a complete quarterback before I completely throw him up there because he looked great with his legs. But he has a great arm. But I have to see him get it done more as like a complete quarterback.
I understand, but still, that was still impressive.
No, I'm not discrediting anything when it comes to Malik Willis. He was good, but I have to see more from that kid before I really put him up there as a guy that could be an Offensive Rookie of the Year type player. I mean, I just don't know what he is yet as a complete quarterback. I just wonder if he can consistently get it done in terms of passing the football.
I don't think we can put him in that category as Offensive Rookie of the Year because I don't think he'll play enough games to be considered that. Like I said, man, if he gets in, it'll be probably around 7 or 8.
No, I agree with that. I think he probably won't play unless Tannehill completely just falls on his face. If the Titans are off to a good start, they're going to ride Tannehill as long as possible. But if the Titans struggle, or especially if Tannehill just looks really bad out, you're probably going to see Malik Willis sometime in the middle of the season.
Probably right around when we play him, honestly. Like what is that, 12?
I got the schedule.
That's that's an interesting guy. Too quickly, the two guys I heard before I left were Malik Willis and George Karlaftis. Now, I just want to say one thing about Karlaftis. I think, Jeff, you're right. I think he's going to the right system. And I don't mean to cut you off, but the other thing is Malik Willis. He's intriguing because, like you said, Tannehill. How long is that leash? How long is till they want to? I mean, in Pittsburgh, they want Kenny Pickett Day. You know what I mean? How long before the Malik Willis chance come out if Ryan Tannehill sucks?
Yeah. No, dude, he just looked really good, man. It almost gives you he's a mini Michael Vick, man, to a point. I'm not gonna lie. Like he's nowhere near Michael Vick's talent, but he plays like him. He kind of reminds me of him, just a smaller version. But he's got one hell of an arm, dude, and who knows, there might be a day they need that spark. And that's all it's going to take, I don't know.
I think he could be a pretty good quarterback, but I just have to see him do a little bit more. So I mean, I hope he can develop. It'd be nice to see him develop into a complete quarterback, but I just think it's gonna take some time with him. He's sort of like I think he's in the same mold as a Jalen Hurts, a guy that can get it done with his legs, but he has to develop the rest of his game before we could consider him as a possible, future really good quarterback in this league. So we'll see.
We'll say what I like Lamar was coming in.
Yeah, probably similar to that. I think I could put him in that same type of mold. I'm glad you brought that name up because I see him as another Lamar Jackson, a guy that has the talent and the upside in terms of his escapability, maneuvering around in the pocket, being able to make plays out of nothing with his legs. It's just, you wonder if he's going to be able to develop the rest of that game in terms of his.
Dare I say he's the next Steve McNair? Dare I say?
No, I don't think he's the next Steve McNair. No.
Just.
I unplugged my headphones.
That's my praise.
I don't see that yet. I can't say that.
Well, I'm just saying, he's got to develop. This year is clearly a developmental year for Malik Willis. And that's why I thought it was funny to see that he's doing well. Because when you get to the third or fourth round, like this guy is, then that's when you take a flyer on a guy like that. That's when you say, hey, you know what? Maybe we're not so, sold on so-and-so and so-and-so. Like the Giants. I'm not saying take him and then make him a starter because you draft him in the third round. So there's no real ties to him if he fails. You can always draft another quarterback. That was my mindset if you wanted to draft Malik Willis. And then you have the guy that could run the offense the way you'd want and have somebody to develop in the system. So for me, these guys that were supposed to be top quarterbacks coming on, him, Carroll, I think Corral, I should say, Howell, these guys, it's good to see that they're on these teams where they can actually get developed because maybe you can find out if Willis is the guy and doesn't have to start anything, right? Because he has an incumbent starter who probably will cost the Titans a game or two this season at some point.
Well, and Adam, you make a valid point, man. These NFL teams are actually starting to show you that you don't need a first-round pick, top 10 quarterback to kind of be successful. I mean, if you look at it, Kirk Cousins was a 6th. Dak Prescott was a 3rd. Kenny Pickett was what did you say he was? Hello? Anyone?
Kenny Pickett, like what draft?
What round?
One. He was 20th.
Yeah, he was a first round pick. He was the only quarterback.
Oh, okay.
First round.
What I said was is their fan base is already chanting for him. Even though Mitchell Trubisky is doing well, they want to see Kenny, and he's looking good as well. So
yeah, but I'm getting to like Malik though, and the guy that went to Atlanta,
Ritter,
Desmond
Ritter.
All these guys are looking good, but they're not first overall picks. Now, I'm not saying there's going to be superstars, but what I'm saying is you can get quality quarterbacks, like Dak and Kurt, and them. They're not first round picks. You know what I mean?
Mm. Well, the fans are always going to root for the young quarterbacks that are first drafted in, and they always want to see those quarterbacks come out. They always want to see the new exciting quarterback, no matter what round they're drafted in, because they think they might be the future. But in terms of out of all those quarterbacks who might have the best chance to succeed early on this year, I don't know. I'm actually leaning more towards Desmond Ritter. I don't know why, but I just believe Desmond Ritter might be that one quarterback this year that might see the best success in his rookie year compared to everybody else. I don't know why, but I think he's going to get the first opportunity because I like Mariota, and if I'm taking this a whole different way, just let me know. But I like Mariota as a quarterback, but I just see him as more of a running guy, you could use in sparing plays. I think Desmond Ritter is going to get the first opportunity of those rookie quarterbacks to get a shot. And I just think that a guy like Arthur Smith is going to try to get the most out of his talents over there. Plus, you have Kyle Pitts that's going to help him out too. So,
yeah, I still have faith in Corral, man. I still don't like Baker or Darnold.
Oh, God, I don't like either.
Yeah,
I think Corral's going to play early. I think Corral's going to play a lot earlier than we think because Mayfield is going to – he'll either get hurt or he just won't look good. And I think that Darnold is not that good at all. I would not be surprised if we see Corral maybe around midseason. Sam Howell's intriguing me too. I wonder if we're going to see him at all either because we know Carson Wentz has trouble staying healthy and his fragile ego at times too. So you have to wonder if we might see an appearance by Sam Howell in the future too. But yeah, why? Which quarterbacks do you guys? Just changing up the subject a little bit. What quarterbacks do you see given the first opportunity to come in terms of getting their first chances to play in the NFL? Which one do you see doing it first out of all those guys? Howell, Ritter, even throw in Carson Strong, Corral, Pickett, Malik Willis, all those guys. Mitch, AK?
It's a very good question. I'm thinking.
That is very good. I need to think on that.
Well,
Adam? Which one do you think, Adam? Which one of those rookie quarterbacks? And we just lost him. You okay, Adam?
yeah, I've had to put myself in the penalty box. So, what was the question again?
Which one of those rookie quarterbacks do you think is going to get the first opportunity to play in the NFL if you had to pick?
Ooh, good question. That is a good one.
Right.
I'm gonna say. I mean, I know what Mac would say. If this was what would Mac do? He would say Corral would be the number one starter. I'm gonna say Desmond Ritter. I'm gonna
We're
say
on the same wavelength, Adam. I picked him too.
I think Desmond Ritter because there's no investment in Mariota really in terms of pressure to start him or anything like that. He's a coordinator, right? In in Carolina, you brought Baker Mayfield over, so you're going to make sure that he fails before you start the rookie, right? You're going to make sure that he fails. Heck, I can even see them putting back Darnold in just because they would just be like, oh, well, you know what, he's the next man up, and not making Corral have to have that pressure. Sam Howell, I mean, I doubt Carson Wentz is going to leave that team, so I think Sam Howell's good as gold, and I think Malik Willis is not going to play unless there's an injury, like start a game. I'm not talking about like play. He'll get it. Malik Willis will get some playing time, like in the red zone. He might score a couple touchdowns because they might want to do some RPOs or to be sneak down there. So I could see him getting burned that way. But as far as a starter or getting ample playing time, I think Des Ritter is going to do it.
AK, Mitch, what do you guys think?
All right, let me. Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know if I want to throw this out there. Honestly, I had a crazy idea, but it's just an idea.
What, Kenny Pickett?
Huh? No, I was gonna say, what if Malik comes out here and does what he did this past weekend for the next 2 weeks, and he shows that he can be that guy, and that he does have it down. Does Tennessee pull Eagles in 2016 and trade away Tannehill to like maybe the Jets or Seattle to get some picks for him because he's still a quality starter other places and go with Malik?
I don't think so. He would have to play like lights out Russell Wilson type of thing. Ryan Tannehill's the incumbent starter, and I think they're not gonna just risk mortgage the future with this guy. Even though it would be exciting to have him and Derrick Henry in the same backfield, and that would give offense coordinators nightmares. Like, my God, this guy can run, throw. Got two running backs back there playing. I mean, it's an idea. I don't know if that would happen. I could see them starting him over Tannehill. And him blowing up for example, let's hypothetically speaking, people are gonna hate me right now. Hypothetically speaking, coming away injury, Malik Willis comes out. We have no videotape on this guy at all. He comes out and runs all over us, and him and Derrick Henry runs all over us because you can't game plan for a guy like that. That would be fun. It would be crazy. I doubt it, but that's a good thought. I don't know who would want Tannehill. I mean, he's kind of in the Jimmy G mold. Like, you're at this, do I want to take this expiring contract on? To me, you would need a contender. Like, Seattle, to me, is a step back for Tannehill because he's in the, I wouldn't say back nine, but back nine of his career. He doesn't have too many more starting years left. So, the thing that I would say that's interesting is this.
The only reason that I even suggest that, dude, is because it's obvious that Tennessee's kind of rebuilding but staying competitive.
Well,
yes.
I mean, so that's why I only say that, because if they believe that he can do it, what's to say that they don't? Because to get more future draft capital for next year.
You might be right. Let's ask this question though: would you do that with Kenny Pickett? Because Kenny Pickett right now and Mr. Trubisky are kind of even.
I traded Mitchell.
You still start Mitchell or you trade Mitchell?
I would trade Mitchell.
Yeah, I would too.
If Kenny proves, I mean, look how he played. If he comes out next week and he does the same thing, then why not?
Oh God, the Giants' offense looks pathetic.
I mean, why not? I mean, if the young guy proves his worth and he proves that he can do it, why not? That's what forced us to trade away Bradford in 2016 because Carson Wentz proved he could handle it. And whenever he proved he could handle it, they were like, well, oh shit, we don't need Bradford then, so we traded him to Arizona. It's just how it goes. If these young guys can prove it, these coaches are like, well, we'll go with the bright new toy and the shiny new, Maserati over the old Ford Focus. Like, it's just the way it is.
Okay.
I don't know.
I think it's probably easier to trade because most of his money is, already paid up to him, right? So you could probably trade him and not be on the hook. That would be a guy that I should have mentioned over Ritter, who might get actually playing time. The only difference is, the reason why I stuck with Ritter is because Atlanta, we know, is going nowhere. Pittsburgh, if Mitchell does anything competent, they're going to be competent enough to be in the playoff mix. So you're not, unless you're the Tom Coughlin, you know that, you have Eli Manning behind Kurt Warner, you're not probably going to make that switch until you're either eliminated or he gets injured, right? Because, or he struggles. That could easily be it too. If he has like a couple games struggle where Pittsburgh, skates on by the skin of their ass cheeks, then, that might be something that you cheer for a spark. See, because coaches need to have cojones too. We talk about GMs and stuff, but coaches sometimes need to look and be like, you bring this up all the time, AK. What if Tyrod Taylor plays as well as Daniel? Do you make the switch? And it's like, well, obviously Daniel you're probably not.
Have you watched the offense the past couple of days of practice?
They've all been
bad. It's been pretty bad. It's really
Tyrod's done all right, but the thing is this. That's what he is. Now, care if you hurt feelings, but to me, I think we were talking about this last night. John Mara probably will be like, guys, you can't get rid of Daniel for any reason. That's why Joe Schoen, I guarantee you, Joe Schoen and Daboll were the top runners in the job search because they were able to say, yeah, we're going to inherit Daniel Jones. We don't care. We'll give him the event. Ask that question, I'd be like, hell no, I don't want that guy. You know what I mean? And if they said, hell no, I don't want that guy, what do you think John Mara's going to do? John Mara, who went out and said, yes, we screwed this guy up. Now you're going to have a coach who turns around and disagrees with you? That's going to look bad on you. So to me, I think the same way that happened with Shermer is the same thing that happened with Daboll a little bit and Shane. Shermer was hired because he was the only coach in the ones that they interviewed that was like, yeah, I'll take Eli Manning. I'll take that old bag who can't throw anymore. I love you, Eli, but you were past your time at that point. Yeah, let's take him. Then what do? The next year you realize your quarterback is bad, so you want to take Justin Herbert, but he's like, no. Play on your crappy team. Thanks a lot. He saw Dave Gettleman standing there, and they were like, that's the Giants' gym. He's like, no thanks.
So here's my question then.
Go ahead.
You go into this season, you get the ball, and the ball gets it because he will work with DJ. But yeah, you don't extend his fifth-year option. And so automatically we all know it's DJ's last year. Pretty much plain and simple. If you're going to go through all that trouble, why even fucking keep him in the first place? Why not just draft somebody?
Because they didn't believe in this draft class. They did not believe in the quarterbacks in this draft class, and they didn't want to throw out a rookie behind.
Yeah, but this is where I counter that, though.
Line.
If you can get Malik Willis in the third round, you take a flyer on the guy. And
right?
You just say, hey,
we're keep the risk.
Right? Like you could have got Malik in the second, you could have got him in the third. Why? If you're not taking DJ's fifth-year option, fucking get a quarterback. There's no hurt in putting fucking somebody back there to compete with him. It made no sense. If you're gonna hire the guy and force him to work with somebody, but then don't pick up his fifth-year option and pretty much tell the kid, all right, you're done after this year, then why not grab someone?
I don't know.
Because you could have had Ritter, you could have had Malik, you could have had any of these guys, and you didn't grab any of them. And it's like,
because
why?
They obviously did not believe in these quarterbacks. They obviously didn't believe in them, and they really wanted to see what Daniel Jones could do in this last year.
But even if you didn't believe in him, if you could grab him in the third, what the fuck?
You could have still done that and had Malik Willis be your backup, right? Because Tyrod Taylor's only here for 2 years, right? You could have Malik Willis under contract for 4 on and get a better.
But who gives a shit if you believe in him or not, bro? It's about the fact that you got him for a third. Who gives a fuck if you don't believe in him?
But my point, I guess, is what I'm saying is that if the Giants suck this year, even with evaluating Jones, and you're in line for a CJ Stroud or one of those big time quarterbacks, Malik Willis, who you drafted in the third, is not going to be like, well, we got Malik Willis here. We're going to not – no, you bring both in, and you let the best man win the job. And now guess what? Now you have an asset, or a chip, I should say, to trade a guy. That's his job over. You took him in the third round pick. Now you can trade him to somebody else and get more draft capital if you wanted to. Now, this is if all the fantasies played out. All I'm saying is if we're looking at GMs like to look at draft capital as a measuring stick to how they evaluate players, right? Oh, we drafted him in the first round, blah, blah, blah. Why do you think Daniel Jones is still on this team? If he was Malik Willis drafted in the third, they would have said, bye, see you. They wouldn't even taken Malik Willis or Kenny Pickett at that point. They wouldn't have cared.
And not just that, dude, but who knows? Maybe something happens to where DJ starts off bad, and by week 5, you guys throw in Malik Willis, and all of a sudden you guys find out, oh, shit, this guy can play some fucking football. And then next year, you don't even have to worry about a fucking QB because you found out, oh, Malik Willis actually is the guy that we can move forward with for a couple of years and see.
It would have been a PR nightmare. If you brought in Malik Willis and you drafted him, they would have
Are we hurting guys?
The owner didn't want it to we all know that the owner came out and said what he said this past off season, and when he made those remarks about what he said about Daniel Jones, it didn't matter what we thought, it didn't matter what the fans thought. Daniel Jones, whether right or wrong, was going to get another opportunity this year because the owner specifically came out and said we were wrong to what we did to Daniel Jones, and we're going to give him an opportunity to see what he can do. It pretty much shut everything else down. That's when everything else, this debate ended because of what the owner said this past offseason.
And I think that's what hurt his GM when coming in, because the only GMs that we know of that were doing it is Joe Shane, and Brian Daboll. So now, because you probably knew Flores was probably like, nope, sorry, I already dealt with that quarterback. I'm going to take another guy, or for example, if Kenny Pickett goes out, it's a good year. And they're loving him down there, right? And Daniel slumps. We're going to sit there and say, we wasted our time with this guy when we could have had Kenny, right? Look at what he's already doing, right? When Malik Willis comes out, has a decent year, Ritter, all these guys, we don't want to sit there and wait because there's no guarantee we get a guy next year. I mean, we're hoping that these guys do well so the quarterback class is a little bit more fruitful and we get to get one of them. But to me, it's like, I'm not saying, and this is no abdication of anything. We always know what's going to happen with Daniel Jones and the Giants. It's just the philosophy of thinking for me has always been get a backup quarterback that you can develop in your system already, because a guy like Tyrod Taylor may or may not be here. So if that's the case, you'd have a guy like Malik Willis waiting in the wings to be your backup, maybe spot starter. You know what I mean?
Dude, we take a quarterback every fucking year.
Yeah, you do.
No lie. We really fucking do. It's no joke. There's nothing wrong with fucking
That's not Howie vision.
Well, no, there's nothing wrong with having quarterbacks, man. Who knows? Maybe you fucking find a diamond in the rough. Who fucking knows?
You got traded. They got some assets for him. You know what I mean? You can find
GMs don't like to just. GMs don't like to keep
Tom Brady was found in the 5th fucking round, bro. Who knows? Anything can fucking happen. Anything.
It really is a guy. It's the development of look at Davis Mills. Davis Mills is the prime example of where the system goes wrong. Right? We see this guy. He gets injured. He goes to Stanford. He plays okay, but people aren't believing in him because he was injured and he didn't do it on a consistent basis.
I got to go on. Appreciate you.
Take it easy, okay.
Then you have Davis Mills outperforming, almost outkicking his coverage. You know what I'm saying? They didn't think that he was going to be this good. All of a sudden he's good. Now they're like, let's build around him quickly to see if we actually have something here in the 1 year showcase. Because I'm hoping a guy like Davis Mills shows up and shows out, and that team goes 6-10 or 7-7 leaves the quarterback class a lot more fruitful again, because the quarterbacks that we find out that come out, that means that's one less for the back end. And let's be honest, there's going to be at least 10 teams looking for a signal caller next year. And you need to be in that at least top 15 to make any moves. I'm not telling the Giants to tank this season, but you'll know when the season is over. You have 5 wins. You have 5 or 6 losses by November. Your season might be a wrap. You know what I'm saying? Your season might be a wrap because the Giants have a tough road to hoe at the beginning. They have a kind of an easier, softer middle, even though the Texans and the Lions will be tough teams to play. Right? And then the December to January, the December to remember, as I like to call it, is brutal. You know, you're playing divisional rivals, sprinkling Minnesota in there, sprinkling Indianapolis Colts in there. You know what I mean? That could be and not to mention the Dallas Cowboys on Thanksgiving, which is always a tough game because guess what? The Cowboys are gonna, whether we like it or not, they're gonna play hard. That's just what they do. Dan Quinn will have that defense playing hard.
The Giants and Cowboys is always going to be a battle no matter what. It's always going to be a battle in every NFC East game, especially the Giants and the Cowboys. So you're always going to expect, an intense game no matter what there. So
let's get into the top 100 a little bit. I know Mitchell, he's sleeping at the wheel, and this is what he was interested about. So we'll go down the list of people from 9.
Adam?
Right there, Adam.
Check, which is a fullback, but I guess
Adam, I think you're having a little bit of issues with your connection.
Yeah.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, I think your connection's it's going in and out a bunch.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me
No,
now?
it's okay. Yeah, I can hear you better now.
You're good. You're good.
Okay, so we're 100. We're going to do it. I said Kyle Juszczyk is 100. I think that's just a liar. They wanted to give somebody something. But they have Kirk Cousins at 99. I'm thinking that he had thrown for over 4,000 yards in 6 of the last 7 seasons. He's number 99. I just a little high for him. I put him on the list. That's just me. 97 is Leonard Williams. I think people are doubting because the sack numbers weren't up, but he still had a ton of hits and tackles. That's why he went. Jimmy Ward, good DB, number 96. And then we have 95 CD Lamb. That's probably perfect for him. Come on, computer. Justin Tucker, the kicker of Baltimore Ravens. I don't even know I have a kicker on. Von Miller, 93. Tyron Smith at 92 is intriguing. And if my code load, Kyle Pitts at 91 to round out the top, the first 10 of the 100. Now I like Kyle Pitts with 91. I'm not saying that there's 90 that he's better than 91 other players. He's pretty tight end. I mean, he was the only rookie tight end ever to amass 1,000 yards receiving. Oh, excuse me, only the second rookie, which is Mike Ditka is the first. So not a bad ranking. That's a little over him. I think he could have been better than that. People don't understand. That pretty good. So let's get into 90 to 81. If you guys don't have any thoughts on that, Mitchell, thoughts on?
Go ahead, Mitch.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, damn. I need to help my mom with something. I'll be right back. I'll be right back, guys. Sorry.
Okay. Well, I mean, in terms of that top list, I mean, Kyle Pitts, I think, is a little bit higher than I thought he would be. But I think at the same time, they're just going off, what he did in his rookie season, the fact he was the second tight end ever to get 1,000 yards in his rookie year, and also the fact they might be going with what he might be doing this coming year because of the fact that they really have no other primary options in terms of a receiving option on that offense. So they're thinking that Kyle Pitts is going to even take a bigger jump in his second season, even though the quarterback position is a little bit sketchy. I could see him making that jump. I think Von Miller being that low, I don't understand it. I think this guy should be a lot higher on that list. Maybe, but they're just going with the fact that maybe they're thinking he's just going on the downside of his career. He didn't really do a whole lot in Denver until he really got the trade over to the Rams, and that's when he started to pick things up again. I don't understand why he's that low, but I guess it's because, like, you know, they might be thinking of he's starting to go on the downside of his career. But and Leo, I think Leo Williams, not trying to be a biased Giants fan. Oh hell, I'm going to say it right now. I think Leo Williams is better than the position he's in, but I think because the sack numbers weren't as high is probably why he dropped.
Yeah, but 97. That's kind of.
He should be a
That's
lot
kind of
higher
like
than that.
a disrespect, man. That's disrespect to me. That's
He
not
should be a lot
anything other
higher.
than. Yeah, I mean, he's one of the best. Arguably, you can probably only name 3 tackles, maybe 3 tackles. I'll give you that. Probably DeForest Buckner, Geno Atkins, Aaron Donald. That's probably.
I might be able to put Chris Jones ahead of him too. Chris Jones is really good as well.
Okay, so fine. He's fine. Maybe he's not in the top.
It's close. It's close. Like you're really splitting like hairs with these ones.
I guess you could say it's whatever flavor floats your boat, right? You know,
Exactly. Yeah.
you like Chris Jones. I think Leonard Williams is better than Chris Jones.
I wouldn't disagree that much. But then I mean, they're two different. I think they're 2 different types of players, but
Right,
you could
exactly.
pretty much splitting hairs with 2 of them.
But that's what I'm saying. If you're talking about straight tackling, we're talking about just guys who aren't that much better than him. Like, we're not talking about guys who are, you know, like this guy's a bum, okay? And if we get into the next part of this, I'm sure we're not going to have – there's going to be somebody on here that we disagree with that shouldn't be there, right? Because you're – I don't even like Kirk Cousins. I think he's better than 99.
No, Kirk
He's
Cousins
better than
should be
99.
higher than that. Kirk Cousins should be higher than that.
If I'm like Leonard Williams, it's like we only look. The problem is people only look at sackers, and this is technically, you know, some people might have forgotten because I think they only see what's in your face on TV. They're not always looking at their peers because there are other things going on. I can honestly see it because there's guys in the top 100 where they were like, "Guy's a top 100 player," you know what I mean? So they maybe not be on your brain. So when people, you know, maybe a lot of people across the league like, "Oh, the Giants are right." Leo Williams played every game, played through like an injury, you know, had 6 sacks, was a quarterback disruptor, you know, helped at least get 8 sacks. Now he's going to be flanked by 2 guys who can bend the edge. I'm just saying, Leo Williams, you got to give him more respect. Especially when we go into it's number 90. Are you kidding me? Marshawn Latimer's 89. Okay, that's fine. Jonathan Allen, defensive end. You know, Denzel Ward, okay. I like that for Cleveland. Shaq Barrett. They said that this was him being up from 2 spots. So last year he was worse. Mac Jones is on this list.
That's ridiculous. Mac Jones, no disrespect to the guy, he should not be on the list. He's not a top 100 player.
Yeah. One that spot for him. But I'm just saying, we already have Mac Jones on this goddamn list. All right, and of course my computer freezes up in the middle, which is normally the case these days, these old machines that we have. But I don't think that Mac Jones, I'm sorry, season that. I'm sorry. I don't like, again, I'm not a Kirk Cousins guy. But you can't, I look at production, and if just looking at it right now, it seems like that was just a popularity contest. Oh, well, it's Mac Jones because he plays for New England. Like, he had 3,800 yards, over 4,000.
I actually think somebody like Denzel Ward should be even a little bit higher. I mean, that guy has emerged as one of the better young quarterbacks in the league. I would even throw up Denzel Ward as a much higher player on that list. I don't even think he's I don't think he's as bad as like a player in the 80s. That guy has been a really good cornerback for a while. And I wonder if like Jaire Alexander might be at a higher position than Denzel Ward, even though Jaire Alexander missed a lot of last year and Denzel Ward played. Not only did he play, he played really well. So I think he should be even higher on that list going forward too. I think he's one of the best. I would argue, and I would put Denzel Ward as like a top 5 cornerback in the NFL. I think he's that good. As much as they blew it with their first pick in that draft, Ward is up there as like a top cornerback in the league.
They also have Justin Simmons, who was at 36, who was down from 36 spots last year. They have Justin Simmons at 81. That guy should be higher.
Justin Simmons should be higher up, yeah. What about the other Simmons, Jeffrey Simmons? Was he on the list yet, or they didn't announce him?
So now they have the top 100. I just haven't got to that section. So you're telling me that Justin Simmons, a ball hawk, has had 5 interceptions last season, is higher than 81? Come on.
No, he should be,
Come on,
higher than 81.
It's like the Pro Bowl, man.
Oh, it's a popularity contest. Absolutely. You're just going to put up names that, you like more. And also you might be going with some of these people on what they did in the past compared to what they've done recently. So, I mean, that has probably a lot to do with it too. Or maybe, you know what it could be, Adam? It could be an outlook, not just by what they did in the past, but also like the 2021 stats, and also mixed in with maybe like their outlook and what you think they might be doing in 2022. So that's maybe how they put this list together. Is it could be a combination of those 3 things. Overall production in your career, if you've been in the league for a while, your resume, 2021 production, and what you might be doing in 2022.
Like A1 is Connor. He has no 1,000-yard seasons. Now, granted, he did have 15 rushing touchdowns, which is pretty good.
Mm.
Like Rashawn
James
Slater.
Conner's not a top 100 player.
You don't think so?
I think he's just outside. I think James Conner might be just outside the 100, just outside. I might sneak him in there in the 90s, but I don't know if he's like. I actually am not crazy. I would put Rashawn Slater in the top 100. He played like a top 100 player last year. He was great. The kid just came in there and had himself. Everybody talks about how great Micah Parsons was. Rashawn Slater was just as good in terms of being an offensive lineman. How many offensive linemen as rookies come in and have the type of impact that Rashawn Slater had? I absolutely believe he should be a top 100 player this year. 100%. I would put him in there. Maybe not in the upper edge, like upper 50, but I think he definitely should be in that realm.
Well, he is. He's number 79. Number 78, Stray Hendricks. Nobody knew. Darius Lace, 7. He's actually underrated. I really think he should be a little higher than that. Brian, oh my God, people. This is one players in the NFL. Brian Burns, he's nasty.
I like Brian Burns a lot.
He was one in 2019 when the Giants couldn't get Montez Sweat. Actually, they could have got Montez Sweat when I thought that they were next to Lawrence. It was Brian Burns, that sneaky team picked Brian Burns right before my eyes. And I was so sad because I'm like, yo, that's the guy that's going to restore the Giants back to China. But Brian Burns is on the list. Good for him. He deserves that.
I would throw Brian Burns too. He's one of the most underrated linebackers in the league. I think he definitely should be in that at least top 100. I mean, I think he's in a good spot around 70. I maybe would have bumped him up a little bit more, maybe into the 60s, but I think 70s is an ideal spot for somebody like him.
Antoine Hill Jr. He finally made the list. He's at 75. Mario Davis, Saints linebacker, 74, deserves to be on this list. Underrated linebacker, people. Underrated. If you don't know who Mario Davis is, start to look that boy up. He's a bad man. Bad man. Plays for that Saints defense. Corey Patterson made the team as a top 100 player. I mean, I don't think of Cordell Patterson as top 100, but, I don't make the list.
No, I think Cordell Patterson, if anything, he's probably going to be maybe like right outside the top 100. I think he's been a pretty good player in the NFL. I just don't think he's just a top 100 player. I mean, maybe they're just going by his ability as a dual threat player, but yeah, I would probably put him on the outside.
Dual threat, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's a very solid dual threat. I think he's a very solid dual threat player. I just don't know if I would put him in that top 100 yet.
You know what's funny though is we talk about Deebo Samuel. He's Deebo Samuel before Deebo. He really was.
He was, yeah, he really is. And it's not even just like, and he also does something that Debo Samuel does, and then it's his ability to be a very good kick returner as well. So he brings that special teams element in there as well.
Yeah, he really.
So and that's like that's the difference that he brings to the table compared to what Debo does. Is he's able to not only get you done on as a running back and a quarter and a receiver, he also can get done as a special teamer. So I mean, I like Cordell Patterson a lot, but I don't know if I'd put him as a top 100 guy. I think he's just right outside of it.
Yeah, I don't think he's a top 100 guy. I just think he's good. I think he's on here because of his rep. You know, even if we were talking about resumes, he has the greatest resume. He's been a solid player as a kick returner. You know, he's been one. He could go to the Hall of Fame like that. But until Devin Hester gets in, no kick returner is going to get to the Hall of Fame until he gets in first. Jim Kelsey, Eagles center, made it. He's up from 21 spots, so he was worse than that. So he was like 89 or he was 99 or something like that. So good for him.
Jason Kelsey, one of the best centers in the league for a while. Good for him. Hall of Famer too. Perennial Hall of Famer when he's definitely. Would you say he's a sure in for the Canton, Jason Kelsey?
For so long, you know. And I'll tell you, first ballot, I'm just saying he's going to be in the Hall of Fame because
absolutely. They'll have their own little section there for the Kelsey specifically for both Jason and Travis Kelsey. They'll have like the Kelsey section or something.
Well, there'll be one of a few set of brothers in the Hall. Day and Tiki, but don't put Tiki in.
I got a good one for you, Adam. Would you and this is like going with the brothers team? I know we're going a little bit off topic. Do you think in the end that both JJ and TJ Watt are going to be in the Hall of Fame?
Definitely believe TJ is going to be there. I mean, JJ is going to be there. If what he does the next couple of years, and that's like flirt the sack record the next couple of years again, obviously yes. And if he gets the championship, now JJ has 100 and something sacks. It's basically the benchmark. Once you get about 100 sacks, you really should be considered for Hall of Fame. It's like baseball. You have 300 home runs, 350 home runs. You should be. If that's what you want to do. What?
No, I'm just checking to see how many career sacks J.J. Watt has, and then his brother T.J. as well.
J.J. has about 100, maybe a little more.
102. 102. He has 419 solo tackles, 128 assists, 102 sacks, 16 forced fumbles, and 2 interceptions. And he was selected to the Pro Bowl 5 times. That's J.J. Watt. So he just got over 100 sacks. I'm going to look up T.J. Watt's sacks now.
Like I said, 100 should get you in.
T.J. Watt's got 7.
He came in. Yeah, so they're on pay. I think T.J. is going to get to 100 past J.J., but he's on a different team, right? You know, Houston.
Different players, too.
Yes. Yeah. He's going to get in as a D tackle. That's one of the best D tackles I've ever seen this J.J.
Oh, I mean, yeah. J.J. Watt got it done as a defensive tackle / defensive end, while TJ is more of an outside linebacking pass rusher. I mean, TJ did it in multiple ways. He was a guy that could also play the run really strong, too. So, either way, I mean, I think
J.J. Watt was dominating like Aaron Donald type domination
for his
first few years in the league.
He was phenomenal.
Right? We forget about it because Aaron Donald came in and took the league by storm as J.J. Watt was kind of, you know, his cloud was kind of falling by the wayside in Houston, right?
Yeah.
Aaron Donald, if J.J. Watt won Super Bowl, we would have Canton as well, right? We would. I'm sorry.
If J.J. Watt never had the amount of injuries that he had, you could argue that J.J. Watt could have gone down as one of the greatest, if not possibly the greatest defensive tackle to ever live. with his numbers he was putting up there before he started suffering injuries, it's not that inconceivable to say he was up there as one of the greatest defensive tackles to ever live in play in the
no
NFL.
doubt about it.
He was that good.
I think he was, like I said, he was Aaron Donald before Aaron Donald, to be honest.
Absolutely.
To be real, 100%.
Injuries killed his career, and it's a shame. Because that guy was special when he was playing in the NFL.
Bad Texans team. Tyrann Mathieu, yeah, that's interesting. I like him. I think he's going to do well for New Orleans. Really do.
I agree.
Cameron Jordan, another New Orleans. This is what I'm talking about. 3 New Orleans Saints are on this team so far. We've had actually 4. We've had Marshawn Lattimore, Demario Davis. Now we have Tyrann Mathieu, technically who was for Kansas. Mathieu and Cameron Jordan. That's 4 guys.
I love Cameron Jordan. One of the most consistent defensive ends in the NFL for a long time. And well-deserved.
Member of the 100 Sack Club. He ranks 3rd among active players behind Von Miller and Chandler Jones.
That's another guy. You don't really hear about him being talked about in that like upper echelon in terms of pass rushers. Cameron Jordan has been a good pass rusher for a very long time. He's been consistent. He's been healthy. And I would even say I think he's a perennial Hall of Famer too. He's been that solid and he's played on one team his whole career, which you have to think about that too. How many players, like in the NFL especially, change teams? And he's been a New Orleans Saints since the begining, and he's been that good. So,
Zach Martin is next, 68.
Well deserved.
Budda Baker.
I love Budda Baker's game.
7. DeForest Buckner, 6, is pretty good on that list. Don't have any problems. Derek Carr. Derek Carr, who didn't make the list last year, is on the list 65 for you, Derek. Well, welcome to the party. Evan White is 64. He slipped some spots. Jalen, who wasn't on the team, obviously because he wasn't in the league, made it on the list. So good for you.
Wait,
Chandler Jones. This is a guy who. Jalen Waddle.
Jalen Waddle. Okay, because it broke up a little bit.
Chandler Jones didn't make it last year, and
it's probably because Chandler Jones got hurt last year. That's probably why I didn't make it.
Arguably the best linebacker outside of Von Miller in the league that we don't talk about is
Levante David?
Chandler Jones.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he's going to be even better now this year, especially he's got Max Crosby next to him. It's going to be fun watching Chandler Jones playing opposite Max Crosby. I think it's going to make him even more scary as a defensive end and a pass rusher for that Las Vegas Raiders team.
I don't know. Yeah, man. I'm just saying Chandler Jones, I think, needs a little in the league. Not that 62 is bad. I'm just saying like effective. Russell Wilson, 6 made the list. Good. He was down 49 spots. He was 12 last year. He's 61 now. Glad he can get on the list. Has over 4,000 yards. He's been to 2 Super Bowls. He's probably going to flirt with one in the next Washington. What's it called? Denver. And now I think the list is ending. They've only let out up to 51, so we're halfway through the list. And I think that's all the NFL has done. And then after we get through this list, we'll probably call it a show, folks, because it was really an impromptu one. Kind of give you some football knowledge, talk about some football stuff. Anything else you want to discuss more?
No, I mean, it was I'm just curious to see. Go ahead, Adam.
What did you say? Sorry.
No, the computer was breaking up, so I couldn't really hear.
Oh no, I said you're curious to see.
No, I'm just curious to see. Like, well, I'm unfortunately going to have to go back to our football team, but I'm curious to see, like, everything we're reading now about the Giants is that this defense is just looking pretty good so far in training camp. I mean, I think Wake doing the blitzing schemes that he has. I think some of these defensive players look pretty good so far. The offense is that's a whole different animal to talk about. But I mean, You have to wonder if this offense right now is just completely out of sync with the amount of injuries they have on that offense. I think the offensive line injuries is killing this offense right now. I'm just saying it right now. The offensive line injuries right now with this team is probably why you see this offense just like all over the place, because they have no continuity there. They're throwing in bodies every single second. And I think it's hurting, like, the continuity of the guys you have out there. And it's like, screwing up what they might want to do right now with this offense going forward. Also because, I mean, Jesus Christ, what I know we talked about it on the Premium Take Show last night, Adam, but I really think that I'm starting to think with Kenny Golladay that this hip injury he suffered a couple of years ago might have really just done damage to this guy going forward. I think it zapped away some of the explosiveness he had. He just can't separate. He looks like people he's catching passes in practice right now, and people are happy about it.
I mean, what is interesting about Kenny Golladay is if this is true, right? That means the Giants would have spent money on a tight end with a busted foot who's now in Kansas City. Right? Kenny Golladay, this is what I'm talking about when I talk about making moves. People are like, oh, you're justifying keeping the highest paid player because, he's a high paid player. And I look at it like, don't keep him, just to keep, get rid of him. If you want something in return, and that's what a lot of GMs want. Well, we need this guy in return, or we need something in return so we don't look like idiots. Don't worry about looking like idiots. That's why I thought Joe Schoen. That's why I like Joe Schoen a lot. There's some things I like about Joe Schoen as I'm learning, and there are some things that I'm wondering about with Joe Schoen. One of them is that, first off, the guy's a snake, and I don't mean that in a bad way. He doesn't let that smile fool you. When business is business, he'll do business, right? So that's why I'm like, the only reason why Kenny Golladay is still in this is because if you start to rip talent away from Daniel Jones, next year will be, you got rid of Kenny Golladay, you traded Kadarius Toney. How is this guy supposed to produce with these guys? And then another year they'll be like, I guess we'll keep him for $10 million, blah, 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 get him more. So for me, that's why I think they're keeping Kenny Golladay, because they're going to try to make everybody who sucked fall on their face, right? Kenny, if you're not going to produce, all right, well, we're going to give you about 8 games, and then we're going to slowly start to phase you out the second half of the year. DJ, same way. DJ needs at least a 500 or just under 500 record to keep your job. If the Giants are 3-5, you still got it. If the Giants are 3-5 with some injuries on the offensive line, you might as well pull the guy now. Giants need to be 4-4 out of the gate with Daniel for him to keep this job. 8 games. I'm giving Barkley. We'll get rid of Barkley if he's having a beast of a year just to get some more capital,
I agree with you. And I think, honestly, the only reason why Kenny Golladay is still on this team is because of the fact that they can't trade him because his contract is too large. I think that's the only reason why he's on this team right now, is because they just cannot get rid of him. If they were able to trade that contract right now, and I believe, I think I saw it on Twitter, it's like a $36 million cap hit or something. It's like something ridiculous, I believe. It's really high, or it's like a $14 or $15 million dead cap hit if they cut him right now. And that's probably why, if they were trying to trade him, maybe they could relieve some of that cap hit. But I think that's the only reason why Kenny Golladay is on this team. And honestly, I'm going to say this right now. I want to see Colin Johnson play more. I actually am convinced that this guy is showing us something in camp. I know it's training camp. It's preseason. Don't get crazy. I like what I see from Colin Johnson. And I think Daniel Jones and him are starting to develop a little bit of chemistry. I want to see what this kid could do more in the regular season. 3rd year, coming out of Texas. He's finally getting an opportunity to show what he can do. Didn't really do much last year, which I don't know why. I think this kid should get more of an opportunity on the field, and I hope he plays more, because I think he is a better system fit in this offense compared to Kenny Golladay, and he will give us that type of vertical threat and that type of receiver we need, and with his height and his ability to snatch the ball out of the air. So I hope we see Colin Johnson play more this year than before, and he better make this team. I better see Colin Johnson on this 53-man roster to end training camp and preseason.
Well,
I've seen enough with this kid.
talk about Kenny for a little longer. The computer seems to suck. I think the other kept him is they have nobody behind him really. They have an injured Shepard. They have Kadarius Toney who has a ton of question marks that they're still looking at and still trying to get through. And then you also have Slayton who you can't trust really. So I think
you have Wandell as well
for just the fact.
Then you have Wandell Robinson too, the rookie, but he's still learning the NFL ropes as we go too. So I mean, you have to see what you can get from that kid as well. But I mean, I think that they actually have some pretty decent depth on that wide receiver. The wide receiver core actually is one of the few places on this roster where they actually might have some decent depth. Because I mean, Richie James has looked pretty solid. I like what I've seen from Colin Johnson. I don't know why everybody hates C.J. Board. I think he's a solid backup receiver on this team. I mean, I'm not going to hate the guy. I think they actually have some pretty decent depth in this wide receiver core. And Slayton in the right place is solid.
Because C.J. Board is just not flashing. To me,
you just said it right there. He's not flashing.
Like he's a yeoman. He does his work. You know, he gets the job done when you call on him. He's not gonna be, crazy guy. Bobby Skinner's like, oh man, this guy takes the top off of defense. I'm like, if CJ Board is one of our starting receivers and the Giants are gonna have to invest highly in the receiver position next year, right? Because right now there's gonna probably be only two guys on the roster next year. Slayton is in it last year. There's no guarantee Galladay's here. And then you have Wandell and Toney who are signed past this year. And there's no guarantee that Toney's here depending on his attitude and the way they feel about him. So, many different little...
I don't think Toney's going to be here. I think the only 100% lock in this wide receiver core is going to be here next year is Robinson. I'd say Toney is probably 50-50, maybe 55-65. He's on the roster next year. And everybody else I could see gone easily. I think they're going to wipe that wide receiver core clean next year. I really believe they're going to wipe that wide receiver core clean after this year.
Well, I want to go through these last few NFL 100 guys, and then we'll close out a little bit of training news and notes as training camp closes to the public for the Giants. So right now, look at that. So at 60, they have Corey Linsley, of decent center. That's pretty good for him. Max, who didn't make the last year, makes for the first time at number 59. I think he's really going to blossom, which comes by his side. Max Crosby has come a long way in his life and his career to get to where he is. Good for him making it at 59.
Max Crosby deserves that. He's becoming one of he's emerging as one of the best defensive ends in football, and he's going to be that for probably the next few years. So, kid's got a great motor, great burst on the outside. He's good against the run. I mean, Max Crosby is going to be an upper echelon pass rusher, and now it's going to be even better now with you got a guy opposite of him like Chandler Jones who's going to eat up some of those the offensive line is going to worry about him too. So I think Max Crosby is even going to get better, which is a scary thought to even think about.
Kyler Murray is 57, and they're really praising him. Xavier Howard deserves to be on this list. Last year 17, but this year he's Joel Bonito. Joel Bettino is on this list. Guard from
Cleveland deserves it.
And here's your guy, hold on. Of course you do this to me. Number 54, Jeffrey Simmons. Do you like him, Jeffrey, because his name is Jeff too? Is that the reason?
I like him because he's a damn good player. Everybody talks about the best defensive tackles in the NFL. They say Chris Jones. They say Kenny Clark. They say Leonard Williams. They say DeForest Buckner, Aaron Donald. Nobody ever talks about Jeffrey Simmons. And all that guy does is go into games and wreck offensive lines, make it impossible for you, Adam, you've been saying specifically for the Giants this first week that Harold Landry and Bud Dupree are the biggest worries. For me, it's 1,000% Jeffrey Simmons. You know, nobody realizes how good of a defensive tackle this guy is. And if you watch that game that he played in the playoffs last year, Jeffrey Simmons single-handedly wrecked that game the entire time. How good he was. Jeffrey Simmons is a terror in the defensive line for that team. And he probably is a big reason why you see Bud Dupree and Harold Landry get the type of attention they do on the outside because of what Jeffrey Simmons does in the interior defensive line for that Tennessee defense. I think he actually should be a little bit higher. Maybe I'm just being biased, but I think Jeffrey Simmons does not get the love that he deserves in terms of being one of the better defensive tackles in this league. He's really good. And I think he's just going to get better as he goes.
Well, he was up 20. He was 78 last year. He's 54 this year. It says here, Simmons continues to ascend the ranks of defensive tackles, and the Titans' defense is rising with him. Tennessee ranked 6th in points allowed. Let me read that again. Tennessee ranked 6th in points allowed, 12th in yards allowed, after being in the bottom 10 unit in both categories the previous year. I'm telling you, people. Okay, the defense is coming with Tennessee. You may say, hey, we can beat them. You're making them the old Titans. This new Titans team has, top 15 in yards allowed, which nobody cares, but top 10 in points allowed, which is really critical, especially since a unit like the Giants hasn't proven you. Yeah, they scored it in a preseason game.
Mike Vrabel knows how to coach defense. He's a damn good linebacker for the Patriots and the Chiefs, and he knows how to coach defense. He's going to get these guys ready, and they have a lot of good players on that defense. Don't forget about that safety, Kevin Byard, another ball hog. Right. Everybody forgets about Kevin Byard, how good he is too. It's another guy you got to worry about in the NFL.
With our quarterback who doesn't do well hook zones and things like that, I could easily see Daniel throwing some interceptions. Daniel Jones' weakness was already diagnosed by one person who watches the games, is that he can't get out of linebackers hooking into his own. He can't see him. He doesn't. Well, guess what? Tape a lie. They're going to figure it out. Absolutely. This will be one of those make or break games for Daniel because I don't think he plays well against good defenses who give him trouble. Next guy on the list is Mike Evans. 53 is a guy that everybody talks about in the elite upper echelon receivers. He
Hall of Famer in that easily. Two wide receivers in that draft are going to be Hall of Famers. That's crazy. That 2014 draft it's you're going to have two wide receivers that are going to be Hall of Famers. Davante Adams.
Oh, right, he is, and he was 8 seasons into his career. Evans never finished a year with less than 1,000 yards a season. He now has 9,300 yards. Just let that sink in. 9,300 yards. AJ to the era is only 9,100 more yards, and he's 5 years older than Evans. Evans holds 75%. Go ahead.
I was going to say Evans real quickly. Evans is just he's just the example of consistency. That's all I want to say about that.
Evans also had a career high with 14 touchdowns. All of this, and he dropped 5 spots. He's so many 18. So 9,000 yards in his career. He's played 8 seasons. He's on a Hall of Fame pace. Next is Matthew Judon, outside linebacker for New England. He had 9 sacks with Baltimore and ended up racking up sacks this year with New England, up to 12 and a half this year. So he gets the top 12. Good for you. Alvin Kamara, he's on the list, 51, and that would round out our top 50. That's as mid as they go. So Kamara, who, yes, he's in the news for slander and beating up somebody, right? And that's not good. And they'll probably be out, who knows how long. Knowing the NFL, he's probably out the year because they just want to, they want to boss people around. That's it. Point I have with Roger Goodell is like, sometimes you need to stop waving your magic stick and say, hey, I'm,
I'm Roger Goodell. I can do whatever the hell I want. I'm the commish.
I'm not saying don't punish guys. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, you're punishing guys who, not that's not the same. I'm going in trouble. Actually, did something wrong. A guy taking, an over-the-counter substance that you're popping him for ringworm is not necessarily his fault. You know what I mean?
No.
So, but anyways, let's close with some nuggets from Giants camp as we go. Listen, the Giants are a team that is going to really struggle. I don't want to see the Giants enjoy it in practice next week. I think the Jets are going to be physical. They're going to be angry. They're going to be like a wasp in heat. They're going to just want to just prove that they are not low anymore. So the Giants get a little bit are going to get a little bit more physical going on these next 2 weeks, which is going to be good and bad. Good because you're going to get physical. They need that. Bad because there's a possibility of injuries, and knowing that 10 to 12 players already out and guys in prominent roles. We're not talking about we got guys like Blake who's in and out of the lineup. We have Shahan Ward that's injured. You have Kadarius Toney missing reps. These guys need chemistry. Antonio Williams just walked off the field recently. It's just like, what can you do? I mean, this was the starting offensive line for practice. You had Thomas, Garcia, Brederson, Golwinski, and Neal. Okay, that is terrible.
Oh, God. That just speaks volumes right there. Max Garcia is starting at left guard. That just speaks volumes on how scary it can be. Because Garcia has been horrible all camp. Since they signed him, that's disaster. Please, Lemieux and Azudu, get better soon and get back on the field. Please. We need you. We need you back on the field. And
I don't know what Lemieux. I don't know what Lemieux's injury is. But being very close to the vest, which is what you want. But we'll see. We'll see what happens going forward. Long term, starting at center. So I think maybe Brederson becomes the center at some point. Especially if you're having a bad season. It would make sense to. It makes sense to start him. Let me see. There's something interesting I read here. Giants head coach talks about if he ever has to ask Wink Martindale to dial back some pressure. You want to do that at times where you say get 2 or 3 seconds every play. It isn't mental gymnastics. You know what? Just let him be. I don't think Wink Martindale really. Just like, I'm doing my thing. Leave me alone. Don't bother me. I'm going to send pressure because I really like him. I really I think it's going to make the offense better, even though they are struggling, which does help because you're trying to get looks. Try a couple players to do their thing. But, man, that offensive line, Max Garcia.
It's painful.
That's what I'm saying about this team. That's what I'm saying. One injury away from being a complete or clusterfuck. We just are. And I hate to use that term. People like it. On the tires. I'm just being real. Just being absolutely, positively real. This team is not doing well in terms of the depth of this team. These are a bit concerning, even though they're like soft tissue, but it's like when the roster constrictions happen in the next few weeks, are you going to have these 10 guys to continue to practice? Or some of these injuries going to butt up against, week? No, they're not season-ending injuries, but are we going to take the full 3.5 weeks that's left and sit these guys? Because if we do, that's a lot of chemistry lost. A lot of reps and mental reps. I don't care what anybody says. Mental reps are okay if for now, but you need for a backup player. Yeah, not a lot. Mental reps are good, not for starting players. You need that chemistry.
And especially for the fact that some of the most important places you need chemistry, I think, is the secondary, because these secondary players need to know where one another are on the field in terms of their coverage. I think it's the offensive line. The offensive line is probably the most important where you need these guys on the field together, because these players need to know what one another is going to be doing in terms of like, their hand placement, how they're going to be moving as a unit together. If you're missing one or two guys from that offensive line, you have to keep interchanging people. It's going to screw up the chemistry of that O-line. I think the other one is the quarterback and his wide receivers. If you don't have your wide receivers out there and they're not getting the amount of reps in terms of like learning their routes, learning where one another is on the field, in terms of like where this guy's going to be and where his route, where it's like the perfect place you want to throw on the ball, etc., that's going to hurt as well as your offense. So some of these guys that are out right now, it's concerning. And you got to hope that these guys can get back on the field soon so they can continue to develop that chemistry going forward. But, yeah, the injuries, while they might not be season-ending, some of these guys you need on the field and them not being there is not exactly the best news you want to hear for this Giants team going forward.
Yeah, and I'm with you, Jeff. It's looking rough out there in terms of how
it's brutal. It's brutal right now. Thank God it's only training camp, but this is brutal. Like hearing how bad the offenses looked right now, it's painful to hear at times.
I really want to root for this team. I want us to be a decent team going forward. I know a lot of people are saying 11-5. I don't want to have delusions of grandeur. I think this team is a solid 7 wins. Could be less if the injuries mount up, which this team is known to have. I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop. As I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, there's already injuries, right? Already, guys already out. I don't know what's going to happen. Like I said, if this team somehow gets this derailed, early on, they're 3-5, 2-6 or something along those lines. I say pull the cord and start to play the guys that you think are going to be here, or in this case, like give you the best chance of winning games. That means moving on from Daniel at week 8 because he's struggling or the team's not winning. You might as well do it. I don't care. At this point, I don't care. I know people are going to be like, well, Tyrod's out. So if you're going to have him be with Mondo Robinson, get him in the first team. Let him see what he can do and what the fans going to do. I don't want to sit here and ride out Daniel Jones when the season's over or base curtains on the season, if it's curtains midway through or 10 games in, right? If you're 10 games in and you're like 3-7, good night the lights. Good night the lights, man. Just say, you know what? Now we're going to take these last 7 or 8 games to evaluate everybody. Daniel, I'm sorry. You've had enough. Let's just go, right? If the Giants are in the mix, in the playoff mix, the only way Daniel gets replaced is if he gets injured. If the Giants are out of it, he needs to get replaced as soon as they're damn near mathematically eliminated.
Absolutely, and and that's just not even with Daniel Jones, but anybody else. If they're mathematically eliminated, then I don't care, like what veteran is there. If this veteran player is not going to be on the team next year, take them out. Put in young players, see what they can do, etc. Just evaluate the players on this roster that you think.
Unlike what Joe Judge did last year, where he mocked Giant fans and mocked football when he did what he did. I know we wanted to see, I was thinking you don't know what you got until you got it, right? And then end up sucking the big one. It's like, all right, they kind of knew that he sucked. And then it's like the question is, well, we knew he sucked. Then why did you bring him in? Why do you bring guys in if you know they suck? Mike Glennon, you brought him in. He wasn't very good. You didn't expect. You knew Daniel Jones' injury away. You bring that guy in, he sucks. Right? That's why I think like when you bring Tyrod Taylor and you invest in the backup quarterback position, you got to look at the numbers. Andy Dalton is a backup quarterback we could have probably had for probably half the money we signed Tyrod Taylor to. But Andy Dalton probably is a bigger name in the circle than Tyrod Taylor is. And be Heat. Look at the moves. We're talking about Heat moves. What I mean by Heat check moves are we're still trying to coddle to a quarterback and his ego as opposed to let's get the best guy in here to win and compete with Daniel. And if it works out, it's out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I get what you mean. I'm not even just I know it's always about Daniel most of the time with that. I'm going with everybody on this team. I'm circling every single person. Like I think some other players on this team are getting coddled a little bit
Oh
more
yeah,
than they
I
should.
agree with you. It's not
And
just
I mean, I don't care at this point. I've said it from the beginning, and I know you've mentioned it, and some other fans have mentioned it, Adam. I don't care how much you're making. I don't care where you were drafted. At this point, it's a clean slate. Everybody has like a lot of players should be. Obviously it's not going to happen, but a lot of these players should be on an even slate right now. Whoever is playing the best and looks the best and looks to be the best system fit in each of the offense and defense. I want to see the best guys out there playing. I don't care how much you're making or where you were drafted at this point. The best players should be on the field playing for a team that is clearly going to be in an evaluation year. Sure, maybe we run into some wins we don't expect. Sure, maybe we're in the playoff hunt. But at the same time, this is the first year in a new regime. It's all about evaluation, and it should be about whatever players are out there on the field that fit your system best and are giving you the best effort. They should be the ones on the field playing a majority of the time. And yes, I'm talking about not just Daniel Jones. I'm talking about you, Kenny Golladay. I'm talking about Saquon. I'm talking about Tony. I'm talking about any of these guys on this field. I don't care where you were drafted or what contract you signed. Everybody's job should be up for grabs right now. And whoever's playing the best, whether you're a 6th-round rookie or an undrafted free agent, or whether you're making $72 million or $60 million or whatever it is, you are on the break to lose your job if you don't get the job done. Period. What's going on, Randy? I hope you're having a good Monday.
You are on notice. And
absolutely.
That, my friends, will be our show this evening or this morning is what up, Randy, is that the fact that we're just going to close and that'll be it. But Jeff, let people know where they can find your content and where they can find you going forward.
Well, you can find me over at NYGJeffyT3285, and I dropped some New York Giants, Brooklyn Nets, New York Mets, as well as WWE Wrestling. I just dropped a video this morning on maybe a potential diamond in the rough of the New York Giants offensive line in the future, and that's, of course, the kid from Nigeria, Roy Mbatika. So, if you guys want to check that out, go ahead. I also do every single once in a while my show with Adam Costas, the Hurry Up, or his show. I apologize. I'm getting a little bit too ahead of myself. My fault. Adam's show, the Hurry Up, where I am my co-host on it, as well as I co-host with the Premium Takes guys, Adam, as well as Mac the Giants fan and Zion Zenith. So if you guys haven't checked their show out yesterday, make sure you go see what you think about it, and if you have any opinions, throw them in the comment section. And just everybody else that's been in the comment section, thank you guys for coming today. I appreciate it, and have a great rest of your Monday.
Well, again, Jeff, thanks for doing this. As always, it's always a pleasure to have you on and be a part of this with me going forward. Like I said, sometimes you got to evaluate yourself when you go forward and see what may be holding you back. And holding myself that's getting held back is that I didn't add a host up until now, which is now getting the show moved along, right? So I thank you for that. But like Jeff said, you can find us here on the Hurry Up. It'll be Hurry Up Live. We don't have a set time because I have new hours starting Monday. While I have off, we might jump on a couple more times this week to get you set for the Giants and Bengals. Also, you can find me on Premium Takes. We had a great show last night. If you missed it, go check it out. It was a show that was talking about everything. We had a lot of fun. Probably the best show we've done in a long time. But that's coming to you, I think, on Saturdays. We still haven't nailed down the date yet to get everyone scheduled. But we are going to keep that show rolling, as it is one of our interesting shows. People, especially Randy, listen in and like the takes of not just being solely about one sport, which I love as well. Kind of gives us some fun topics to play with. Anyways, going on long-winded. Sorry about that. You can catch me on the Hurry Up, which I do on my own YouTube channel, Adam Costas. You can find me on YouTube, where I talk about topics, little things that might be bothering me with either the Giants or the NFL. It's been predominantly more of a Giants focus. I wouldn't say I'm quote-unquote a Giant content creator, but I create content, and I'm talking mostly about them since they're in my backyard and I see them 24/7. Might as well talk about what you know, right? Then I have this show, The Hurry Up with Jeff, like I said. And then also I can't. Let's hope my voice doesn't crack today like it did yesterday when talking about the show. Let me get some water. But on Wednesdays, I have the real deal. NFC East round up. There we go.
There you
With
go.
Mac the Giant fan. He and I will be talking every Wednesday at 5:30 about everything NFC East. And my son in the background is one of the reasons why I'm leaving. He's hungry and begging me for food, and I have to give it to him by law. I'm required as his parent to feed this young hungry beast. So,
Yes.
with that being said, thank you all for joining in. Hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll be back probably later in the week to kind of give you a quick overview of Giants Bengals.
Have a great rest of your day, everybody.